Is there anything that comes to your mind?
We see them in news channels, for stock market analysis and all.
Stock market analysis, okay. Is there something that you use or you implement them in real everyday day-to-day lives? Okay, so let's say you and your to go for a vacation, okay, and you want to travel 4 to 5 cities, okay. So uh, the roads that you will take to travel, don't they sort of form like vertices and edges? So the roads can be the edges and the destinations that you're traveling can be the vertices. Or in general, the road networks, the ones you see in maps, are those graphs. Sorry. So you have n number of destinations, n number of locations, and you have n number of roads connecting to each one of them. But for traveling from one location to another location, one road might take 5 minutes, the other might take 10 minutes, right? So in a weighted graph, that is why the edges are given weights. Why? Because let's consider the example of roads and destinations. So your A, B, D, C, E, and F. Take a look at the second image. A, B, D, C, E, and F are different destinations, okay, of a particular city, and the edges are the roads that connect to it. So for going from A to B, it takes like 1 minute, but for going from A to C, it takes 2 minutes. For going from B to C, it again takes 1 minute. So I can either travel to C, if I'm at A, I can either travel to C by going from A to B and B to C, or A to C, both of which will take me the same time, right? So that is where weighted graphs come into picture. So whenever like these companies, Amazon, Flipkart, etc., they want to analyze which is the shortest route to reach to a particular destination, they use these weighted graphs and they perform some operations on these weighted graphs, and they come up with a path which is the shortest path to reach a particular destination. That is why these graphs are important. Talking about directed graphs again, a road can be unidirectional or bidirectional. If it is bidirectional, it can be represented by undirected graphs. But if a road is unidirectional, that is, you can travel only one way, then you will have to represent the graph by directions or by arrows. So that is where directed graphs can be used. Now let's go to graph traversals. The graph only has two traversals, that is the depth first traversal and the breadth first traversal. In the depth first traversal, we will first be traveling the depth of a graph, and in the breadth first traversal, we'll be traveling the breadth of a graph. So first, at a first glance, you don't really understand what is the depth and what is the breadth in the graph, but we'll be taking a look at this. Now, I would like to tell you that you'll get a better understanding of depth first and breadth first while actually implementing it in coding. So, when you take a look at algorithms and when you implement it, you will get a better understanding of why these algorithms are known as depth first and breadth first. What happens in depth first traversal is, let's say you take a node A. Now, A is connected to D, B, and E. As you're traversing depth first, you will go deep into one particular node. So you consider the node B. B is connected to again E, C, and E and C and A, but A is already visited. So B is connected to E and C. You take one single node C and again visit that. After C, C is connected to G and F. You take one single node G and visit that. Then you take G, take its one node F, visit that. F, take its one node which is connected to E, visit that. After E, take E's one node D and visit that. Then you come to D. Who is D connected to A and E? But both are visited. So so after that you come back and see E. E again, all the nodes that E is connected to D, F, A, B, and C, but all are visited. Come back to F. F is connected to C and G, but again both are visited. Come back to G. G is connected to everyone. and or whoever G is connected to is already visited. Like that, you reverse back to A, and you can see that all of the nodes are visited. So you traverse through the depth of the graph first, and then you come back one by one, seeing that all the nodes are visited. Once you see that everyone is visited, you stop the traverse. So that is known as a depth first traversal. This is a very small graph to exactly explain how depth first traversal works. Graphs are generally they are very complicated and big data structures. So when working with such kind of graphs, you will understand how depth first traversal works. The next is breadth first traversal. So what we are going to be doing in breadth first traversal is we are going to be visiting the breadth of the graph first. So again, take a particular node A. A is connected to D, B, and E. So you visit D, B, and E, all three of them. Then after A, you visited B. So B is connected to E, C. So you visit E and C. Then after B, we had visited D. So again, you see D. D is connected to E and A, but both of them are visited. Then after D, we had visited E. E is again connected to A, B, and C, but three of them are visited. Then after E, we had visited C. C is connected to B, F, and G. So B is visited, but F and G are not. So we visit F and G. Then we go to F. F is connected to E, C, and G, but all of them are visited. Finally, we go to G, and G also, all the nodes are visited. So we end our traversal there. So those are the breadth and depth first traversals of a graph. Do you? I understand that you might have doubts in in these particular topics, but for a better understanding of it, I think we will need to code it out and implement it out to actually make you understand how these work. But do you sort of get an intuition, or if you have any doubts in that, so you can ask? You can either ask it on chat, or you can ask it, you can unmute yourselves and ask. So, if you don't have any doubts in this, so what more to learn is there is something known as a minimum spanning tree of a graph, which is one very important algorithm in graph data structures. Then we have implementation of graphs and their traversals. So, how to implement BFS and DFS. Then we have time complexities of these implementations, and as well as we have some algorithms associated with graphs. Some of them are Kruskal's algorithm, Prim's algorithm, shortest path algorithm, and some other algorithms which you'll be learning in your course as well. But if you've understood graphs, then understanding those algorithms are not really a problem. So the reason why I'm not sort of taking up these implementations is doing each implementation will take around half an hour. So that's a lot of time, and that cannot be covered in a span of 2 hours. So I would encourage you all to go and search about these implementations and these further topics to understand these data structures better. But I hope you understood the basics of what these data structures are and how they are actually represented in real life, so that understanding further and advanced concepts of these data structures become easier for you. So do you have any doubt about any of these three topics? I'm sure you all have a lot of things in your head right now which will get cleared as in when you start implementing them. But still, if you have any doubts right now, you can feel free. You can feel free to ask them. Okay, if not, then I'll just stop sharing my screen. As we have the last half an hour remaining, as I said, the last half an hour will be the FAQs that some of you wanted to ask, and a lot of you might also want to know about the placements, etc., the procedures in our college and what to learn for it. So you can ask that or any other questions related to what we covered in today's session as well, or any other questions, any other doubts that you have in mind in this half an hour.
Yeah, so
Vaishnavi, yeah.
yeah, we got some questions from the form. So the first question was, is internship very important for getting a job?
Uh, okay. So I would say that internship is important, not for getting a job, but for increasing your experience of what it is like to work in the industry and to get a hang of how things work in the industry. So, yes, internship is important. Having said that, there are a lot of people who are on par with the people who have gotten internships. So, there are some people who have done no internships at all, still are at par or better than people who have gotten internships. So, even if you don't get any internship, that is fine. You can keep working on different kind of projects. There are a lot of projects that you can do on your own. You can explore web development, you can explore ML, that is machine learning, and you can do mini projects on it. You can explore mobile app development. There are a lot of frameworks that you can learn: Spring, Express, Angular, React. Okay, and all of these will get added to your resume. And I think a resume like that looks better than what you have done in internship, because I have seen a lot of people who have sort of opted for internships, but it's not really technical internship. A lot of people go for digital marketing internships like that. Those internships don't really add to your technical resume, although they might add to your, if you want to go in the field of marketing, etc., they will add to your resume. But speaking of technical companies, they don't really care about non-technical internships or internships where you haven't really gotten to learn anything. So I had an experience where I was offered an internship through Internshala, and the stipend was around, I think, 3,000 per month, which is very less for programmers. Okay. But so they told us that they are a game development company and we are going to develop games with them. But what they do is some people just give you sideline jobs and don't really give you, truly technical jobs. So those sort of internships don't really count until and unless you are working with an IT company or a IT, even a startup, but you are doing some sort of technical work, then that internship counts. So it's not, sometimes it's difficult to get those sort of internships until and unless college is, providing you with it. So in that case, what you can do is you can do different projects, and then I think you will be par with people who are actually done internships. So no company asks for internships explicitly. They just sort of see that, okay, you've done an internship, so you have experience. That is what counts. The experience of what you have learned in the internship counts. So the same experience you can get while doing projects. So that's fine.
Yeah, so the next question was how to stay focused to learn DSA.
Stay focused to learn DSA, data structures and algorithms. I think one very important thing that people don't do is practice. People don't practice problem solving or things like that. After you go to the second, third years, a lot of people will start delving into, ML, data science, and things like all of the other things, blockchain, refined technologies, but they forget that they have to practice the basics as well. So I think one thing that I do and a lot of my friends do is that we do, let's say, one or two problems every week from these particular platforms that I mentioned, HackerRank, Hacker, or CodeChef. So not more, one or two problems every week is more than enough. But just to keep your, brains running, that to keep you in the zone of those problems. Because what happens, even after you do your ML, blockchain, mobile development, app development, all of those things, the first round in any interview is the coding round, wherein nobody will ask you about ML or any of these. You will have to know your basic data structures, algorithms, problem solving techniques, etc. So the one way to stay focused is practice every week, and I think that'll just that'll help you just remember these algorithms. I think that's all you can do.
So Vibha just asked, what project can we do?
What projects can you do? As I said, if you're going into ML, you can take a look at projects where, so any project that you do, first thing should solve a real life problem. You can't take, it's not advised to make an imaginary problem and then solve that problem. Take up any real life problem, any problem that the world, anyone in the world is facing right now, and try and solve it through the tools available to you, through the technology available to you. So ML, if you are going into ML, you can do market analysis or something like that. I personally, for my projects, I pick up web development and mobile app development because the scope of audience is more. So in web and mobile app development, there are a lot of things you can do. You can do projects like um, parking, projects about how to optimize parking spaces, or something to help the farmers, something to help something to better shopping experiences of customers, stuff like that. So you can pick up these projects, and what you can do is you can start with a very basic e-commerce project, let's say. So there are a lot of starting projects available. You can start learning about different databases that you can use. You can start learning about different back-end technologies that you can use, front-end technologies that you can use. So I'm speaking more about web development because that is something that I am doing. So you can start learning about these mini concepts, and when you actually do your mini or your major project, you can put these concepts together, and you can do something, you can actually solve a real life problem through these concepts. So those are mini projects that you can do. Another way that you will get an idea of what projects you have to do is participate in hackathons. There are a lot of hackathons which a lot of colleges arrange. Our college also arranges, but online also there are a lot of hackathons which are available. You can participate in these hackathons. There'll be a lot of problem statements that these hackathons will provide. Those problem statements will reflect on the need of the hour of of what is needed. So you can try and solve those hackathons. You can try and participate in those hackathons and do those sort of projects. So I think, yeah, I think that is how at least we got introduced to the different sort of projects. We got introduced through hackathons. So hackathons and coding events in general are a very good way to come up with projects. Also, these platforms like Hacker and Hacker or CodeChef, Tegic, they have companies coming to them and companies arranging hackathons. So if you get a chance to participate, and if you excel in those hackathons, you might even get placed before your third year. So that is how it is. So you can participating in hackathons is never like wrong. It's always the right way. And a senior of ours, she got placed off campus through hackathon itself, and she got the highest package in her entire batch. So hackathons are again one important way of doing these projects, and you can put those projects on your resume as well. So your resume will be like filled with different sort of projects you did in different hackathons. Can you please tell about programming languages our college will provide in 2, 3, and 4? Yes, Archana and Dean, I'm doing CSS and JavaScript, and now Python is going on in college. So should I skip that? Speaking about programming languages, I honestly don't feel that you should rely on the college to teach you any programming languages. During our course, if you are in the first year, then your course is different. But during our course, we were taught about C, C++, and very, very little Java, little to no Java. So C++, basically, it's an object-oriented language. So C++ was not taught. Object-oriented concepts were taught. Programming languages are not really taught in our college. Even if they are taught, they are not really implemented well. So programming languages that are important, that is something that I'll tell you, that what programming languages the companies need and what need, and which of one of them are important. C++ is our, even though no company will specifically ask, but C and C++ are one of the most important languages, and you need to know them to understand the other languages better. Barclays and other banks look for Java, okay? But it's okay if you don't know Java. If you know C++, Java is very easy to grasp. And even if you tell the interviewer that I know C++, then they won't stress on Java. But Java is, yes, Java is rage in the IT industry right now. So Java is another important language, and Python. Python is a new language which has come up in the last, I think, 5 to 7 years. And problem solving with Python is really convenient. There are a lot of, pre-available functions, etc., in Python that you can use. And machine learning is also done in Python. A lot of companies do prefer machine learning in Python. So if you're going for any machine learning data analysis company, they will look for Python. Yeah, so Python, even if you, so what I suggest is you can, when you solve these problems on the platforms, you can try using different languages. You can try practicing your languages over there. And then I'm doing CSS and JavaScript, and now Python is going on in college. So should I skip that? You can do CSS and JavaScript while doing your projects. So these projects, whatever projects you do, if you do web development projects, you'll any which ways need CSS and JavaScript. So you don't need to learn CSS and JavaScript as a language. You will anyways have to implement it while doing your projects. So for now, it's better if you focus on one or two languages for one particular purpose. So if you're in your first year, I would suggest you focus on problem solving, and as in when you go to your second and third year, you can continue CSS and JavaScript, HTML, even start using some frameworks like React Native and Angular, etc. They'll give you a better understanding of these languages. So that is what I would suggest, Archana. What should our approach for any specific language be? I think, okay, a lot of people will tell you to go on, first learn the language and then implement it. But I think, or for me, what worked was try. So what I used to do, I used to try solving problems. Okay, that is how I learned Python. I tried solving problems in Python, and if I didn't know particular syntax, I'll just go to the net and search syntax, and then I'll solve using that syntax. And as in more I practice these problems with that particular language, I started more and more learning more and more about that particular language. So that I think that is a good approach for learning a language, like doing implementing it while actually solving problems. Beforehand, you can do a course or two on that particular language. That is a very basic course on loops and variables in that language. But I don't think you need to go to advanced concepts of any language. You can actually learn while implementing that language. So you can, while solving problems, any sort of problems, you can opt for a language that you want to learn. And if you're stuck anywhere, just go to Google, find out the syntax, find out how other people have done it, and learn, and then continue. And I think for me, that worked best for learning all languages that I currently know. So I think that is what I would advise you. Yes, Archana?
I have completed CSS and means now I'm thinking to start JavaScript. So means there in college the Python is going on. Means that what I was asking. So means
Okay.
JavaScript I should just skip that JavaScript.
So if in college Python is, sorry?
I have completed CSS and JavaScript I want to start. Means I'm thinking to start.
Acha, okay. So see, currently in college Python is going on and you are also planning to do Python anyways, then I would suggest halt JavaScript and first complete Python and Python course, know Python really well, and then continue with your JavaScript. And I'm telling you this because JavaScript is a little complex language. It is an asynchronous language, and your concepts will get mixed up if you learn synchronous and asynchronous languages simultaneously. So I would advise you to not start with JavaScript now. First learn Python if they are teaching you that in college, and after that, when starting a fresh language, you can start with JavaScript.
Yes, thank you, dear.
That is what I would suggest.
Yeah, so there was one of the question which stated that give shortcut tips on the mentioned topic and teach it with the minimal jargon as possible. Like if any shortcuts for the linked list trees or graph is possible.
Okay, so these topics don't generally have any shortcuts. That is, you will have to remember the algorithms, etc. But there is one way that I think I find it easier to remember all of these things is linking it to real life examples. So you can link linked lists to treasure hunts, or you can link graphs to let's say road maps, and what seems complex while implementing in a purely technical way will seem easier when you relate to it with real life. So that is one tip that I would give. There are no shortcuts to learning these algorithms because each and every one of them are important, and each and every one of them will be asked specifically. And people won't just ask you definitions; they'll ask you in depth of each of these algorithms. So there's no shortcut really. You will have to know each one of them. But linking it or relating it to real life examples helps a lot with implementing and understanding what the problem actually means. So that is the only tip that I can give.
Yeah, so there's a
Which
question, which language should we start first? C, C++, or Python?
definitely C. C is this is my understanding or my belief that C is a language which should be learned before any other language. C is one of the basic languages, and if you understand C, it'll hardly take you a week or two to understand Python. Okay, and so first do C. Okay, C is a procedural oriented language. These concepts will be taught to you. C is a procedural oriented language. Start with C, understand the syntax, understand loops, understand if else statements, understand all of that. Then go to C++. The syntax of C++ is very similar to C, but the concepts in C++ are very different. C++ is an object-oriented language. Learn about the object-oriented concepts, etc. Learn C++ well. After that, go to Python. Python is also an object-oriented language. It will hardly take you, after you learn C, C++, right? It will hardly take you more than 2 to 3 weeks to learn any new language out there. JavaScript will take a little bit of a time because again the concepts differ. JavaScript is an asynchronous language, and there are concepts in JavaScript which are not really previously discovered in C, C++ or Python. But other languages like Java and Python, etc., you will not take a lot of time to learn them if you know your C and C++ very well. So I would suggest start from C, then go to C++, and then go to any language you want. You won't have a hard time learning it.
Yeah, so my personal question, like which are the technologies which you worked during your internship?
The technologies that I worked during my internship was a backend framework known as Spring. It's a Java-based framework and it's a backend framework. So we build, simple microservices in Spring. Microservices are again a concept. We built some APIs as well in Spring, and we used Eclipse, like we learned about Maven, Gradle, which are sort of project structures of Spring projects. And we also built a front end in Angular to show the demonstration of our projects. So these are the technologies that we did in our internship. We
So
had
Angular and React goes hand in hand. So, like, which technology you suggest? One should work. Like, should it be
yeah,
Angular or React?
so React JS and Angular are both front end frameworks, right? And personally, this is a personal biased opinion. I prefer Angular. I like Angular, and that is because I think there are okay. So if you want beautiful UI and if you want beautiful UI designs, JS is a very good way to go. Angular does have UI support, but more than that, it has overall support. So there are a lot of overall front end libraries available connecting to Firebase, MongoDB. How to make a PWA in an Angular. All of that is very easy. So there are other supports available in Angular as well, which are not as advanced, as React.js, which are more advanced than React.js. Sorry. So support in React.js for the other front end things that we need is less than in Angular. So that's why I prefer Angular more. And but learning wise, Angular is difficult to learn than React.js. At least that is what a lot of people say. So I started with Angular first. So I had not had a problem learning that since. But that is why my personal bias is Angular. I think Angular is better than React.
Okay, so we have a question like we had C++ in 11th and 12th, but now we go for Python. The syntax and all are very much different. How can we link that?
Okay. Syntax for every language is going to be different, but not that much different. I think if you see Python, all the syntax that differs is your indentations, okay, and your this braces, etc. are gone. If you talk about loops as well, they have also, don't have your parentheses, etc. Apart from that, so those are few syntax rules that you will need to remember while doing Python. Apart from that, the core concepts of Python are very, very similar to C++. If you take a look at classes, if you take a look at how memory is the new operator, the delete operator, all of that are very similar to what we do in C++. So when I tell you to do C++ and the concepts of object oriented programming, that is what I mean, that Python will be very easy to learn. Because once you know object oriented concepts, Python is an object oriented language, completely works on object oriented concepts, and that is why it will be easier to learn Python. Syntax of every language is going to be different, but it does not take more than 2 weeks to remember it. Or it's okay even if you don't remember the syntax, you can just go on net and search for the syntax. But actually understanding how to solve a particular problem in that language involves understanding the concept of that language or how that language works. And the working of Python is very, very similar to the working of Java or C++. So that is what I meant by saying that it will not take you much time to learn Python if you know C++ very well. So all your loops, etc., are same, right? So your for loops, your while loop, your do while loop, your if else statement, your switch case statement, all of them are there in C and Python as well, right? Only some syntax differs. So that is the learning for that you have to do for the 1 or 2 weeks that are given. Otherwise, I think pretty much everything is similar.
I think that's it for the question session. And any more questions from anyone? Yeah, so I don't think so there are any more questions. Like, first of all, thanking you, Vaishnavi Di, for sparing us some time and, uh, sparing us time and teaching such valuable things. And also, thank you everyone for joining for the session. And I hope everyone gets a takeaway, some new knowledge and inspiration from today's event. Thank you so much.
Okay, if you all have any doubts, any further doubts regarding data structures, or any time, you whenever you learn data structures and you have any doubts, you can just text me on my WhatsApp or ask me questions, and try my best to help you out. Or any other doubts as well regarding college placements, etc.
Sure, Dee, we will try to share your number. If anyone requires,
Yeah.
please do DM any of the core members and we will share your number and they will reach out. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much.